Are you planning to explore Europe in a microcamper but stuck wondering, can I stay warm, cook meals and sleep comfortably without losing my mind over space? Or maybe you're nervous about stealth camping, legal rules or how much it all costs. If these questions are holding you back, don't worry, I've got you covered. In this video I'm spilling all the answers with a full tour of my tiny house on wheels. From tackling tight spaces to outsmarting the challenges. This little car became my ultimate freedom machine and I'll show you exactly how you can do the same. Let's get started. I'm Zoef and for the past year I've been traveling Europe in this tiny house on wheels. From a week's trip to Austria or Switzerland to my 3-week road trip through the Arctic. Today I'll show you what I've learned so far, how I made this work, as well as tips and tricks so you don't make the same mistakes I did. But let's start with why on earth I chose this car instead of something bigger. Many people ask me why I chose such a tiny car instead of a big van. The answer is simple, it is a lot cheaper. The car cost me 6,500 plus around 500 to make the bed in it, versus a 20,000 euro camper van, modifications and different taxes that all quickly add up. Additionally, it makes my videos more interesting and it shows you that you don't need a big van for big adventures. Besides that, I do not have a parking place at my house for such a big vehicle, so all in all a van was never an option. Furthermore, the van would also need to be my daily driver, which didn't make sense. The Up is my camper and my daily driver, which means no extra vehicle to maintain. The compact size also means I can park it just about anywhere. So how do I make this all work? Starting with the most important part, the bed. I removed the front passenger seat and folded down the rear bench. Then I built a simple frame to support the bed platform and topped it with a comfortable yet affordable mattress. If you're wondering where to get this one, I've linked it below in the description so you don't have to search and guess for a good one. It's great and honestly feels just like home. It is exactly 2 meters from the dashboard to the boot of the car, so despite me being 185 tall, I sleep comfortably with sufficient space at both the top as well as the bottom of the bed. Now I hear you thinking, are you even allowed to remove the passenger seat? Well, there are no explicit regulations that prohibit it, and in most countries, as long as your car remains roadworthy and meets the safety standards, it is perfectly fine. In Norway I was pulled over by the police a few times, but it never led to any questions, so you don't need to worry about it when traveling through Europe. But if you're from outside of Europe, just ask ChatGPT to have a look at your specific situation. Moving on to another important aspect, storage. Under the mattress I store my table at the front and my chair at the rear. With both items under the mattress, it keeps the mattress level, so I don't feel anything while sleeping. There's only one way to store it properly though. Headrest of the chair facing up, sliding in first from the rear. This way the headrest actually supports my hips, making the bed even more comfortable. The table fits snugly under the front side of the mattress, staying secure without moving around. If you want the same setup, I've dropped links in the description for the table and the chair. In the next video I'll show you exactly how I built this bed, including measurements, so you can replicate it easily. If that sounds useful, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Before we dive into insulation and ventilation, there are still a few smart storage and organization tricks worth sharing. Under the bed is where I keep my fresh clothing and my 15-liter jerrycan with fresh water. Since I often need things from here in the dark, I installed an LED strip under the bed. It can get messy under here sometimes, so having proper lighting makes a huge difference in the dark. In the trunk, I store my dirty laundry in a bag, and as the trip goes on, more space frees up under the bed, so it kind of organizes itself over time. Talking about keeping things organized, at first I thought I had a solid system, different storage boxes for different categories, but in reality this just meant I had boxes everywhere and barely used them.
In here I have all the things that I need all the time. Everything together, because before I made different cases with stuff that belongs together. So I thought that was a good idea to keep things organized, but that made me end up with a lot of cases with stuff I didn't really use as much as I thought I would use them.
Inside this essentials box I stored things like SD cards, batteries, chargers, the GoPro, some cozy light strings, tie wraps, power banks, a lighter, tape, fork and knife for dinner, cleaning wipes, small trash bags and other everyday necessities. This setup keeps my space clutter-free and prevents small things from getting lost all over the car. I used to get frustrated searching for stuff, so making this a priority really made following road trips more enjoyable.
Then in the rear, so that's not because it's old, but because it was stuck. Let's see. Here's my toilet stuff that I can easily reach from my bed. Here's the light. It's a flex tail light with different modes and it's really cozy. I really like it. Underneath are my bed sheets. There's firewoods underneath.
With that out of the way, let's move on to insulation. On my first trip, I quickly learned that rain noise in the Volkswagen Up is no joke. It was so loud it kept me awake, so I insulated the roof to fix it. Now it's much quieter and I can actually sleep through bad weather. I filmed the whole process of insulating the roof and I will be uploading a video about it soon. Behind the driver's seat I store my DIY window insulation panels to keep the heat in at night. If you want to see how I made them, check out episode 1 on the channel. They are multi-seasonal as one side is black and the other side is reflective silver. In the summer, reflective side on the outside to keep the heat out, and in the winter, reflective side on the inside to keep the heat in. But even with insulation, the car still gets cold during the nights. So far I've been using a thick 2-person winter bedsheet I took from my bed at home. Even when temperatures dropped into the double digits below zero, it kept me nice and warm. However, it is way too bulky for such a tiny car and I need to buy a proper winter sleeping bag that is just as warm but takes up less space. And that brings us to another important topic. At night I slightly open the rear windows on both sides, creating a natural airflow, pulling fresh air in on one side and letting it exit through the other. This helps minimize condensation on the windows in the morning, although it is not completely preventable, but it definitely makes a difference. I recently installed rain guards on the front windows, so I can keep them slightly open as well. The fresh airflow also helps reduce CO2 buildup, but if it gives you peace of mind, you can always bring a CO2 alarm. That said, hearing noises outside while the windows are open is always a bit creepy. Sleeping with the windows open has its benefits, but it also cools the car down really fast.
Oh, look at that. The phone is too cold to switch on.
And not only the phone. Heating the car at night, especially in extreme cold, was one of the hardest problems to solve. And frankly, I still haven't solved it completely. During my Norway road trip, I used an external heater with a tube to direct warm air into the car. It worked, but barely. Setting it up every evening took too much time.
This is taking me a lot longer than I expected.
And on top of that, it proved unreliable throughout the trip. So what went wrong? I originally bought a 5 kW diesel heater, but there was a problem. The power draw at startup was 16 amps, while my power station only delivered 10 amps over 12 volts. That meant that I couldn't run it directly and I was leaving in just a few days. Returning it was not an option. So I had to buy an inverter to convert 230 volts from the power station to 12 volts with a 20 amps output. A last minute fix that barely saved the plan. But the real lesson was I should have gone for a smaller 2 kW diesel heater instead, which doesn't need such a high power draw at startup. But what did I know? It was going to be 40 degrees below zero and I didn't plan to freeze to death on my first road trip. Now, how am I going to fix this? The plan is to mount a 2 kW diesel heater either in the spare tire space or under the driver's seat. The only thing left to sort out is the best spot for the 5-liter diesel tank. Ideally somewhere easily accessible from outside for refueling. For power, I'll connect it directly to the car battery. To handle the high startup power draw, I only turn the diesel heater on while the engine is running. This way, the alternator can recharge the battery straight away after the heater completes its startup procedure. Once running, the heater uses very little power throughout the night as only the fan and the fuel pump draw power from the battery. Once the weather improves and I found a safe place for the diesel tank, I'll be doing a full video on it, so keep an eye out for that. If you've ever installed a diesel heater in a small car, let me know in the comments because I love to hear your solutions. Cooking in a beautiful place, surrounded by nature, all on your own, is like magic. Now, how do you find these places? I'll get to that in a minute, but first let's go through the cooking setup. For cooking I use a simple butane stove with gas canisters that cost around €6 each. They are compact, efficient and easy to use. But here's the catch. They don't work in freezing cold. This is something important to keep in mind if you're planning a winter road trip adventure. I always cook outside the car because in such a small space, cooking inside just isn't practical. The stove is too small and combustion gases make it unsafe. Plus, let's be honest, cooking on your bed is probably not the best idea. I have one storage box for cooking gear and one bag with food I bought before departure.
This is all the food. The other case was for actually making the food, and this is the actual food.
This way I don't have to worry about visiting supermarkets each day and thus adds flexibility on where I will stay for the night. I think I can optimize this further by combining both into a single box for my next trip. With limited space, I stick to food that packs small and only needs water to prepare, like rice and spaghetti. And this is how I clean the dishes. Washing dishes in cold water is a hassle because grease doesn't come off easily. My solution? Face wipes from the Lidl. They work great for cleaning up without making your food taste weird. Regular cleaning wipes? Not so much. They leave a soapy residue, and trust me, tea that tastes like disinfectant is an experience you only need once. Also, using a placemat on the mattress while eating is recommended. No matter how careful you are, you'll eventually spill something, and this prevents you from waking up with your feet marinating in tomato sauce. Extra space-saving trick: for vitamins I skip the bulky containers and instead I pre-pack daily doses into small sachets and store them in one compact can. Save space, keep things organized, and means I'm not digging through bottles every morning. These small tricks make microcamper life a whole lot easier. If you've got any space-saving food or cooking tips, drop them in the comments because, let's be real, we could all use a little extra room in a tiny car. Before I get into how I power all my equipment, there is one last thing about food. After my Norway road trip, I realized a fridge is a must-have for keeping butter, milk and meat fresh. I found a great cool box that chills down to 18 degrees below ambient temperature. While driving, it's hooked up to the 12-volt outlet, and when parked, it runs off the power station. One downside though, the fan does make noise, and since I sleep right next to it, I'm thinking about swapping it with my clothes from under the bed. Small tweaks like this make a big difference when living in a microcamper. To keep all my gear running, I upgraded to a power station that can handle everything I throw at it. The All Powers R1500 features 4 AC outlets with 1800 watts continuous power, 2 USB-C ports, 100 watt each, 2 USB-A ports, 18 watt each, one 12-volt outlet, and 2 wireless chargers on top, 15 watt each. My previous 500 watt power station just wasn't enough to keep everything charged all the time, and this one is. It's a LiFePO 4, so I don't need to worry about potential fires from the batteries inside when I leave it running and I'm away from the car. If you want one too, get 10% off with the link and code in the description. The power station can be charged in 3 ways. 230 volts from 0 to 80% in just over an hour, the 12-volt car outlet delivers around 110 watts while driving, and the 200 watt solar panel is a great backup for when I'm not driving. I've added an extra 12-volt outlet in the front, so now I can use the original 12-volt outlet to charge the power station.
That goes to the cool box. I've got 2 times USB and 1 time USB-C, and I can switch it off completely to make sure that the battery is not going to be drained when I get back to the car.
With this setup, I will never run out of power on any of my road trips. Before we get into how to find the best wild camping spots, there's one more important topic: showering. For summer trips, Flexsteel sent me this USB-C rechargeable shower, a simple but effective way to stay clean on the road. No more stopping at campgrounds just for a quick rinse. In the winter though, that's a different story. If you want one too, use code ZOOF20 for 20% off on the Flexsteel shower, or ZOOF15 for 15% discount on all Flexsteel products in their webshop. Links in the description. Moving on to another important topic: finding a good place to sleep. Here's what I learned so far. Campings. If you're planning to stay at a campground in the summer, arrive during the day and not in the evening. By the time the sun sets, most spots are already taken and it's usually first come first served. Wild camping. Austria, very limited, especially in Tyrol, where wild camping is almost completely forbidden. Local patrols and police actively check these areas, and if you're in a restricted spot, they'll find you and send you away. Switzerland. It depends on the area. Some regions have very few parking options, but around the Brenner Pass, I've heard there are plenty of beautiful wild camping spots available. To make things easier, I use an app called Park4Night, which is a total game changer for finding great places to park overnight. It shows all available spots in your area with pictures of what you can expect and reviews from other travelers. My advice: look for places far away from cities. These have worked best for me. So space is tight, pack light, stay organized. The less you take, the more organized your car will be. If you're curious about the cost of road trips, I've recently made a separate video on that. In the next video, I'll show you exactly how I built a bed in my car. Got questions? Drop them below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.